All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Uh, Very nice weekend locally in terms of weather. Of course, a lot of other things going on locally and across our country. I don't mean to ignore them. It's always there, but I just feel we have to keep track of what we're doing and what our jobs are. So for the next hour, I'm just going to focus on that and want to make sure that we stay on schedule, stay focused on what we're trying to accomplish with the surge. Had a great week last week with all of you on the calls, doing the assignments, and starting to track your work, your accomplishments, your lead measures to reach the goals that you have set or will set or will readjust in a certain amount of time. This week, we're going to focus on your time, your schedule, and again, some of the things that don't seem like they play a major role in your success, but hopefully, especially by the end of this hour this morning, you will see just how critical and how important it is that your schedule is always locked in and that you learn the principles of time management to a high degree, and you start incorporating it into your business. And as we're moving from the full stay in place into limited office hours and availability, your schedules will change. They may change more in coming months, positively or negatively, depending on how things go. When you have a schedule already set, it's much easier to adapt and change than if you don't. So with that, we'll jump in and we'll get started so we stay on track. And I sent this quote out last night, and I want to start it with your idea. Of course, Peter Drucker, famous investor, businessman, very written tons of books, lots of articles on success in business and in life. And I thought we would start with this in mind. That is, that time is the scarcest resource, and unless it is managed, nothing else can be managed. And that's the spirit I want you to take today's training in and understand that very, very important concept, especially in our business, because there are so many things we have to do to be successful. And the fact that we're not always in control of whatever the next activity is. We're not in control of all the moving pieces, all the moving parts. We have so many people that we deal with. And then we are, by definition, dealing with their schedules and their management or mismanagement of time. And so in business, whenever you can minimize or reduce inefficiencies, you're going to be further ahead in the game. And so that's something that you need to remember. So the one you control is your schedule, your management of time, not anyone else's. So keep that in mind, please. All right. So going back to our 6 basic principles for the things you need to be successful in real estate: access, time, money, skills, knowledge, and experience. Obviously, today in this training, we're focusing on time and that ability to control that as much as possible. All right. Another good saying to put you in the proper frame of mind for this morning is this: be not afraid of growing slowly, be afraid only of standing still. And what I mean by this, and it's kind of part of what the surge encompasses, is it seems like we're not moving very fast. It seems like we're not doing anything cool. There's no big game changer that we're talking about. And that's kind of the point. Let everyone else go fast, go too fast, crash, start over, do it again, try something else. That creates the inefficiency that I always like to talk about. That creates the ability for you, like the tortoise versus the hare, to move slowly, deliberately, but with purpose and with a clear mind of what you want to accomplish. Real estate moves fast all around us. Business and life moves fast all around us. If you're moving at that speed consistently and constantly, you will come up short. You will crash. You will find that it's constantly pushing into what you want to accomplish. But if you are in control of yourself, your time, your efforts, you'll find over time way more success. And with that, because no one likes to move slow, let's talk about why that is the way to go. Um, we announced one of our favorite books last week, Fanatical Prospecting, that we would like you to read. This one will probably come up soon in that list also, and that's The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Jumpstart your income, your life, and your success. And I thought, while we're introducing the idea of manage your time, moving slowly and deliberately, I want to show you why that makes sense. And this is a great book on that topic, and the idea that adding little things into your life, into your business, into your schedule over time are massive, massive gains. And you can sum up the book, The Compound Effect, with 4 words. It's the little things. Unfortunately, too many of us are unwilling to do exactly those little things. Darren Hardy, the publisher of Success Magazine, writes in his book, and he's had the opportunity to be around thousands of individuals and has taken the lessons that he learned and shared them in The Compound Effect. And this is all it is. Small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. So when you start changing your choices and behaviors and habits, there's no visible to little visible difference in the short run. You seem to be doing the exact same you did before. But we know that every choice creates a behavior, which eventually forms a habit that shapes your life path and allows you to work at a level and a scope and a speed that others around you just cannot keep up with. The measurable differences emerge at that time and quickly start to multiply. And these can be in any of these categories: health, relationships, income, success, happiness. Take that same approach. Hardy learned at an early age that slow, steady, hard work does pay off. The key point of the book, it pays off exponentially. By that he means that the little things you do will make a bigger and bigger difference over time. In essence, they build upon themselves, they snowball. This next hour will not be the first time that in successful must manage your time and create a calendar of accountability. It won't be the last time. The point is, will this be the time that you actually listen and engage and do it and start to make choices that create behaviors that become habits? And then in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, if you're really fast, will you be the person that others say, how do they do that? How do they get where they are now from where they were? And how can I do the same thing? And then when you tell them what you did, they won't believe it and they won't do it. All right. So again, going back to this operating system that Darren Hardy talks about, the key to choices is to recognize and accept that we are 100% accountable for choices we make each moment. Once we accept that there are ramifications to our choices, we are much more likely to consider those choices more carefully. It's 8 o'clock on a Monday. You don't have a traditional looking over your shoulder, and yet over 40, you decided to wake up and gain some insight, some tools, some training that will make you better. And that's the idea of the small choice. When we're finished with this, you're going to learn and see some ideas and some tactics and some training, and then you'll have another choice. Will you actually do it? Each one of those choices will present you is designed to create a behavior that over time becomes a habit that you do almost without thinking. When you do that, everything we'll teach you today is designed to increase time. If not the actual amount, then your control of it and your ability to do more and accomplish more in the same amount of time or less time than your peers. And when you accomplish that, then you leverage yourself. We've talked about leveraging systems. We've talked about leveraging your company. We've talked about leveraging other people. When you master time in your calendar, in your schedule, you leverage yourself. The things that you are good at, you can do more of, because the things you are not good at, you either invest time to get better or you eliminate them because your business is that much more efficient, much more profitable, more successful, so that you can buy the time of others to do those things. So either you run the day or the day runs you. That's from Jim Rohn, one of a mentor that I'm sharing it. Um, let's see. I'm getting a notice that the slides are not sharing. Give me a minute. Sorry about that. Let me stop the share and restart it. Let's see if I can, not sure why. Give me one moment. Sorry about that. Okay, now they are. It looks like they are. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Uh, you missed the visual so far, but I hope you got the point. So this idea of creating the ability to identify your time and manage it really, really well, a concept we've talked about in the past, and that is you'll be able to control the things that matter. Control your controllables is what it's called. There's things that matter in your business, in your life, and there are things that you can control. They're not always the same thing. You need to understand both. And then you need to find where those things match. The things that matter and the things that you control. That's when you learn the concept of controlling your controllables. And this is what you should focus on. Focus means you do them first. Focus means that you apply more of your resources and time to do that. As you gain time, as you start to manage and get better at your own scheduling, then you'll have time and effort and capacity to do the things that matter and things that you control that are outside of this. But that's what I mean by focus on these. We talked about when we go into your daily calling and you go into your CRM and we ask you to set aside and start by identifying what are the things that you need to do first, what are the things that you have to tackle first. And this is the same idea of focus on these things first and you'll get more done. And this is where most of your production comes anyway. So focus on being productive instead of busy. When you don't identify these things, when you don't spend more time on the things that you can control, you're always doing something. No one's going to accuse you of not working hard, but that doesn't mean you're being effective or as effective and efficient as possible. So always remember this, focus on being productive instead of busy. When you focus on being productive, trust me, you will be busy, but it'll be productive and gainful. So, okay, so into the time management, here are the things that I really want you to understand and take away from today in the next 45 minutes or so. Clarify your goals and achieve them. Tomorrow, we'll be talking more about goals and how to do that, but this feeds directly into time management. Once you clarify your goals, then you can assign the necessary time to get them done. Handle people and projects that waste your time. First, you have to learn to identify them, and then you have to learn to eliminate them or at least minimize them. Be involved in better delegation. You do not have to do everything. I've learned to work with and understand agents who've always tell me that they're control freaks, that they like to have their hands in everything. And I always remind them that can mean doing it yourself. That can also mean delegating it to someone that's as good or better than you in doing it. And I've seen people do that before. And in fact, the most successful people are like that. I can guarantee you that Elon Musk is a control freak, but he did not do anything this weekend to get that spacecraft up into space, docked with the space station. And I guarantee you, he just knew and trusted and found people at every step that was better at doing what he wanted to accomplish each step of the way. So trust me, I hear it a million times. I need to have control. I'm a control freak. I can't let go. That's a false equivalency. That is something that if you find the most successful people in any area, they're almost always control freaks, but they harness the power of delegation and they allow others to do it for them so they can be free to do what they do best. All right. Work more efficiently with your time. Learn specific skills and tools to save you time and overcome stress and procrastination. You cannot stress how important that is in our business. Right? And always remember what Ben Franklin said, time is money. So when you set up your business plan and you end up with an amount of money that you want to make or earn at the end of the year, remember that that is going to be directly tied to the amount of time you spend in the most productive activities in your daily planner to achieve that goal of income earned. So why time management is important? The time famine and bad time management equals stress. They both kill your business. The time famine is simply that idea that we started with earlier. We don't make more time. There's only 24 hours in a day. You are going to need to do so many things in one day. And if you're not organized, if you're not planning ahead, if you're not really deliberate about how you spend your time, then you'll always be in that famine. You always need more time. So by some estimates, people waste about 2 hours per day. And here are some signs of wasting time. Messy desks and cluttered or no files. Can't find things. Miss appointments, need to reschedule them late and are unprepared for meetings. Volunteer to do things other people should do. That's a big one. That's the idea of not being in control and wanting to do everything yourself. So think about that, 2 hours per day wasted. That's 14 hours a week. That is almost 60 hours per month. That's over a full work week wasted each month because people don't know how to manage your time. How much more could you accomplish if you eliminated some or all of this wasted time? So being successful doesn't make you manage your time well, but managing your time well makes you successful. We can show you that over time through math. So why are you doing this? What is your goal? Why will you succeed? And what happens if you choose not to do it? Well, here we go, the 80-20 principle. There's many different versions of the 80-20 principle, and here's the one we're talking about today. Critical few and the trivial many. There's 20% of things you need to do that are critical. 80% of your time is spent with the trivial many. They're not really that important. Having the courage of your convictions on what needs to be done. Good judgment comes from experience, and experiences come from bad judgment, the mistakes you made. Another thing I've always taught agents is I don't completely believe in the idea that you only learn from your mistakes. You can learn from other mistakes. If you listen, if you get mentored, if you find time to train, we'll tell you what went wrong before and we'll tell you how to avoid it. So you don't fall into that trap that you must experience it to learn from failure. So this is the idea. 20% of your efforts create 80% of your results. If you're mired in things that aren't productive, this obviously is going to affect your results here. So become efficient, become really organized, become really, really miserly with your time, and your efforts will explode, thus exploding your results. Making more money, time with family, you're more organized, any number of things that you would like to accomplish and create in your business. So here's an idea, here's an example, right? If you can dream it, you can do it. You all know who this is. This is Disney, right? Walt Disney. So here's his park, his concept, the thought that he had in his mind, and here's something you may not know. Disneyland was built in 366 days, from groundbreaking to first day open to the public. We can't build a sidewalk in 366 days anymore. And we won't spend too much time in explaining why, but just think about that. Even as much as it's changed today from its original days, to build anything of that size and that scope. But you got to, if you've ever read about Walt Disney and the clarity of vision and how he knew exactly the vision he had in his head, and when he started, able to harness that and not waste any time, not waste any effort, because he had so much clarity on how he wanted to accomplish. Right. So imagine yourself that way. What would you accomplish and how could you maximize your productivity in the next 366 days? We have found in the last week how effective you can be when you know what to say, when you have scheduled time to call people and actually say it, and then you practice what you're going to say, right? That's maximizing your productivity. I love the stories that we received last week about people getting appointments that they thought that they never could, getting multiple appointments in a week when they usually don't. And that's just a small sliver of that concept of maximizing your productivity. So a lot of good things to remember. A lot of these are cliches, a lot of things you've heard a million times. But again, it's all about when would you stop hearing it and start doing it. So let's talk about planning. Failing to plan is planning to fail. We've heard that a million times. Plan each day, each week, each quarter. You cannot plan the bigger units if you don't manage the smaller units. You can always change your plan, but only once you have one. Another great book to read, Time Tested and True, is Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog. And it really talks about these main things. Break things down into small steps. This, in essence, is what we're doing with the Surge. I would bet you may have listened to some new scripts, but really you've not heard anything in the last week or so that is fundamentally different from anything you've heard in your entire career in real estate. What we're trying to do is just really identify each individual small step, really focusing on what it is, why it's important, and then how you go through those steps. If we accomplish that, your business will explode. And that's the key, breaking things down into small steps, like a child cleaning his or her room. You've experienced that when we do script practice. I stop you when you miss a word. I stop you when you are doing something just slightly wrong, and I say, start over, do it exactly the way it's written. This is what we're talking about. And do the ugliest thing first, right? What's the ugliest thing in real estate? Calling people on the phone. And that's why we started the Surge with that. Get it out of the way. Eat that frog. When you're starting to think about increasing your efficiency in time management, remember this 4-quadrant to-do list. There are things that are important and not important. There are things that are due soon and not due soon. Which do you do first? Those that are important and are due soon. Then you do those that are important and not due soon. And then you do those that are not important but due soon. And finally, if you ever get to it, not important and not due soon. Again, it seems very simple, but you might want to challenge yourself and put in the things that you do every week as an agent. Create a quadrant like this and put them, where do they go? Important and due soon. That's prospect, right? Things like that. Not due soon, not important. Your latest flyer that you want to create with your logo, your color scheme, your text, your wording. You already have it. You can put it on your to-do list, but put it down here. Put it in the 4th quadrant. If you ever get to a place where you have the time, then you do it. Don't show up Monday morning to the office to create your brand new flyer. Paperwork. Clutter is death. It leads to trashing. Keep your desk clear. That keeps your mind clear. Focus on one thing at a time and accomplish it, and then move to the next. A good file system is essential. From your phone to your computer to Outlook, there's so many different places where you can now keep a good filing system, but you must master it. Touch each piece of paper once. Touch each email once. Your inbox is not your to-do list. The fact that you have 500 emails on your phone, on your computer, is not a point of pride. It's simply announcing to the world and to yourself that you're not organized, that you don't have a good filing system, that you don't know how to manage and efficiently master your time. Learning to schedule yourself. You don't find time for important things, you make it. You're gonna have to make it. Everything you do is an opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, for those of you that are not familiar with it, simply means that when you choose not to do it or you choose to do it, that is taking the time of something else you could have done. If one brings you more time, money, or pleasure than the other, then the opportunity cost is the difference. It doesn't make you a lot of money to spend an hour on making a flyer, while you can make a lot of money by calling your contacts for an hour. What's the opportunity cost? The difference between 1 deal, 2 deals, 5 deals, it can run into the tens of thousands in our industry. So always understand that concept, opportunity cost, and learn to say no. Everyone asks you for things in your schedule, in your time. Learn to say no. Do that quick quadrant in your head when someone asks you to do something. Is it due soon as important? Is it due soon and not important? Is it not important and due soon? Not important, not due soon. Learn to do that immediately and beg yourself out if it's in anything but that first quadrant. Learning to say no. Will this help you get a lead? If it's no, don't do it. Will this help you convert your leads to clients? If it's no, don't do it. Will this help me get into a listing agreement or a purchase contract? If it's no, don't do it. Will this keep help me broadly, keep help me broadly defined? Everyone wants your time. Only do it if you've done everything else you need to and have to, and then you can be giving of your time. Your first priority is your own business. Now, this may seem overly selfish, but I learned, and you've learned because you see it, the agents with the most time to give help are the most successful agents. Why? Because they've already learned to manage their time. They've already learned these concepts. So when someone comes and says, can you, they do this thing in their head, does it give me a lead? Will it help me convert? And they answer all these things and they still have time, then they say yes. The agents who don't have time are the ones that haven't learned to manage, haven't reached a certain level of success. You're in apprenticeship, you're learning. People should not be asking to give up your time. Your time is incredibly valuable to get you where you want to be. Say no. If you learn to say no, you'll learn and become more successful. And then when you are that agent that has reached a certain level of success, magically you have time. Why? Because you learn to master and you can make it. Everyone has good and bad times. Find your creative thinking time. Defend it ruthlessly. Spend it alone, maybe at home. Find your dead time. Schedule meetings, phone calls, and mundane stuff during it. You know when you're up during the day. You know when you're down during the day. You know when you have extra energy. You know when you have less energy. For me, from probably like 2:30 to 4, the lowest energy time for me. So I try to always create paperwork when I'm doing that. I try to do things that I don't have to interact with other people. Because if I PT during 2 or 3 or 4, my energy is not there. My creativity is not there. My efficiency is not there because the way my bodily rhythm works, it's just, I can't do it. Sometimes you're forced to, but when I control my schedule, I don't plan meetings during that time. I try to avoid it. You got to learn that about yourself and then schedule appropriately. Interruptions. This happens a lot in the office. I know it's happening a lot, especially if you have children at home right now during SIP. But think about this. We work 6 to 9 minute spurts every 4 to 5, and there's a 4 to 5 minute recovery each time we're interrupted. 5 interruptions shoots an hour. What does that mean? You're on task, you're thinking about something, you're rolling, and someone says, hey, what are you doing for lunch? Guess what? You stop processing and thinking about what you were just doing. You ask yourself, what time is it? When am I going to lunch? Should I go with them? What would I like to have? You do have this internal conversation, then the external conversation, and like, fine, okay, great. We'll see you at 11. And then what do you have to do? Now you've got to refocus, remember where you were, get back into the rhythm, and start all over, right? This is what we don't understand about when we're interrupted. You must reduce the frequency and length of interruptions. Turn your phone calls into emails. Turn your email notifications off. If your phone is always buzzing with each text, with each phone call, with each, your mind is always stopping what it was doing and turning, even for a brief second, into, I wonder if it's an important email. I wonder who's calling. You will get to it. If it's super important, they'll call and call and call and call, right? So learn that. Cutting things short. Tell people, when people interrupt you, say, I'm in the middle of something now. Start with, I only have 5 minutes. You could always extend this. Stand up, stroll to the door, compliment, thank, shake hands. Clock watching. So again, these on the surface may seem rude, they may seem, but you're focused. You're trying to achieve your goals. You're trying to get to a certain point in your business where these things are not as intrusive, they're not as problematic, and you will get there, but you won't if you act like that from the beginning. Get to the point where you are in complete control of your time. Sample schedules, start with your time first. This is something Gino taught all of us from the very beginning. He says, when you sit down and you start planning your yearly schedule, put your vacation first. Your kids, your spouse, your partner first. What are you doing for you first? Remember, we talked about making time. If you start with the work you're going to have to do, you'll never get to the time off. You'll never get to your kids. You'll never get to your wife. You'll never get to your spouse. You'll never get to your partner. Start with that first, then fill it in. Work backwards from there. After your time, your family, prospecting is number one. Start with your family, start with yourself, then put in prospecting, then everything else. Benefits of time well managed: more self-confidence, a better work-life balance, stress relief, emotional security, quality of life, all things that you want to accomplish. Here's other benefits of the time: a higher mental and physical fitness, better personal and business relationships, better perspectives, fit more into the day. This is the concept of making time. And you enjoy every minute of it because you're in control. You're not being pushed left and right. You're not always in stress mode because you're falling behind. You didn't do what you're supposed to do. You'll do it tomorrow, but then tomorrow the same thing happens, and then you'll do it the next day. And then before you know it, you should have been prospecting, but you haven't done it in a week or 2 weeks, and the bills are coming and you have nothing in contract. See it over and over and over in decades and years of doing this with realtors, right? And why? Because they didn't manage their time a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and now the time comes and they're overwhelmed. So look upon time management as a vehicle that can take you from wherever you are today to wherever you want to be in the future. Again, last week we stressed the surge is about progress, slow, steady progress that becomes exponential over time when you execute each step efficiently. And this is what you want to do today. Where are you now? Where are you with your time management today? And use this as a catapult to get wherever you want to be in the future. All right, so ideal weekly schedule. What does it look like? I'll send this out later today along with a treasure trove of things about your schedule, mindset, routines that allow you to start dominating and controlling it. If you do not have something like this, you need to have it in your business. And if you don't have one or you want one, I'll send it to you with instructions on how to use it and how it works. But it's really that simple. All your day that involves your business should be accounted for. Leverage your time, plan your work, and work your plan. And here's why. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 25% of salespeople make only the second contact, then stop. 12% of salespeople make only the 3 contacts, then they stop. Are we talking about this? Because only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. Now, understanding that, know this. 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 2%. 3% of sales are made on the second contact. And this is across businesses. This is not just real estate. This is across categories where sales is the metric. 5% of sales are made on the third contact. 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. Again, this is probably not the first time you've heard this or something like this in your real estate career. And yet, knowing that it's true, having heard it before, why is it that agents don't do it? And I'm going to tell you today, the reason that they don't is because they don't have control of their schedule. It's not that they don't know that they need to call 5 to 12 times to get into this rarefied air. They don't have the time. Their schedule is not set up for it. They're always chasing the new. They make a call, make 2 calls, then it's Thursday, Friday, they're doing an open house, they're doing door knocking, they get another lead, and they drop what they were doing because it's not scheduled, it's not regimented, and they chase the shiny object. And they're like, well, I know I lost a large percentage probability of winning, but this new one is better. And they convince themselves of that instead of doing the slow, the steady, the boring, putting it in a calendar, putting in a schedule and say, I call this person because they're an A once a week. I'm going to do that 5 to 12 times. It's in my calendar. It's on my schedule, and I will do it. And I want to get into that 80% range of where sales are made. And because it's boring, because it's rote, because it's conscripted, they get there. And all of a sudden they're successful. And all of a sudden they're making money. And then the other person is always chasing that rhythm. So this is why I point this out now. when I showed you the calendar, put it in on your calendar, do the things you're supposed to do, and get into this range. Make sure you've done the hard work of making a contact. Make sure you do the hard work of getting to the point where you maximize your chances of creating a sale. All right. So identify and squash time wasters in your business. This is my excuse. People are always coming up with excuses, and it's because they don't identify or do something with the things that waste their time in their business. What is a time management mindset? Are you the chief executive officer of your business? Are you in charge of everything that goes on? Or does every single person, does every single vendor, does every single call, text, email that comes in, whether or not it creates business opportunities for you, does it stop what you're doing and create the control of your business instead of you? This is how you have to think. This is why you have to think of your business as a business. And you are responsible. You're the only one responsible for its success and failure. When you think like this, you get started in the morning. Office work, 9 a.m. or whenever yours starts, right? It could be different on different days, but you should, as soon as possible, get into, I am doing business today, right? And what is the first level of business? Appointments. Look how often we have appointments scheduled in. Now, when you create a calendar like this, remember these things that are highlighted are dollar producing activities. These are the things you want to do to grow and be more successful. Now, are you going to have 4 appointments this afternoon from 2:30 to 4:30? Maybe not. That's okay. Guess what? When you don't have an appointment from 3, and that's usually your scheduled appointment time, you can do something else. Remember when I say the perfect training schedule for me is no one shows up because they're doing these things. That's when there's really, really a hard charging office and they're too busy with dollar producing activities to do things like this. Now, we're not there yet, but we'll get there. But only if you incorporate this mindset. So here are the dollar producing activities. You must fill your calendar with these things first. And then when something happens, well, let me go through them first and I'll explain to you what happens when you don't do one, right? So you list, you prospect, sell, and negotiate. Fill your calendar with those things first. When are you going to do that? When are your appointments? When are your calls and follow-up? When is your prospecting? That's listing, prospecting, selling, negotiating. Those cannot be touched, right? Now, let me see if I have it here. If you're in this calendar and you have an appointment coming up and you have to reschedule it, something else comes up. You have a blown tire driving down the freeway and you've got to take care of it. Of course, you've got to take care of that. But guess what? If that takes you the rest of the afternoon and you miss these 2 hours of dollar producing activities, you cannot lose it in the week. What you have to do is move it somewhere else. Work late, work early, take a smaller lunch, but you cannot lose that time because we don't make more time. And this is what makes you successful, right? Skip office work, shorten lunch or dinner, go in, stay out later, go in earlier. But if you miss time in these dollar producing activities, you must reappoint them somewhere later in the week. You only have a given amount of time to do these 4 things during a week. You cannot lose it. Everything else you can lose because they don't make you money. They don't make you more successful. Does that make sense? All right. So you start that by only having a time block. When can you change your schedule? When you have a schedule to start with. When you don't have a schedule, all these things just become procrastination. Oh, I was going to do it this afternoon, but now I can't. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. And then it never happens because something always happens. And because you're not dedicated and really tied into your schedule, in charge and in control of your time, it starts to control you, right? So here's 5 questions to ask yourself at the end of the day once you have started to work on a schedule. Do you need to call anyone? Do you need to email anyone? Did you promise something to anyone? Did you update all your systems, your CRM, your tracking systems, all those things? and what do you have scheduled for tomorrow? Once you create a schedule, once you create the mastery of your time, and you ask yourself these 5 questions at the end of each day, then you're not going to bleed into the next. You're not going to then corrupt your schedule yesterday because you weren't efficient today, okay? And remember when we talked about prospecting and the mantra was, there's always time for one more call. This is the kind of the same thing, right? Things might happen. You miss an appointment, you miss something that's scheduled, go through a mental checklist. Did you do these 5 things? If not, try really hard to get them done before your day is done, or else your next day will be impacted. And then you start falling further and further behind. Over time, this should happen less and less and less, because not only did you schedule it, but you eliminated time wasters. When someone says, can you do, you thought, can I, should I, will I? No, I've got to do this, right? At this level, your time is the most important thing. Your success is the most important thing, not what someone else wants you to do, not what someone else needs you to do, okay? Doesn't mean become a hermit, doesn't mean become antisocial. They will understand. The ones that will understand are the ones like you that want to become successful in their business. The ones that won't understand are the ones that are not there to become successful. They're not there to be organized and efficient and become the best realtor they can be. And so they're sucking you into their problem, their issue, and you've got to fight that. All right, so daily activity record. This is one example. There are many. I know Jess has one, but I want to show you how you can start to really maximize your time and have something that starts putting you in that that idea that Darren Hardy talked about, where you make choices, you affect behavior, you create habits that then free your time, right? And it's about accountability, right? So what does it look like? The daily activity report. This is something I've used in my office in the past, something I learned from my coach, and I think it's absolutely fabulous, right? When you do this, when you track all your activities for a day, it's amazing what you learn. You monitor yourself in 15-minute increments for between 3 days and 2 weeks, just the self-discovery. Do I waste time? Do I let other people interrupt me all the time? Do I have a set schedule? Is it working for me? Updated every half hour, not at the end of the day. This is at the beginning, all right? This is not 2-3 years from now, you're still doing this. This is where you're doing research on yourself, research on your business, research on your productivity, research on your effectiveness as a realtor. And this is kind of what it looks like. It's broken up by day, schedule of activities, prioritize task list, results, opportunities, issues, add and sign calls, all these different things. And when you do this for 2 weeks, even for 1 week, you're going to learn so much about your business. For some of you, it's going to be refreshing. For some of you, it's going to be depressing, because you're going to be like, I've been doing this business for 10 years, and I can't believe I've been this inefficient for 10 years, right? If you're in that category, don't let it bother you. You cannot do anything about that past time. You can only focus on what are you going to do to get better starting from today. That's one of the sheets that I'm going to send you later this afternoon. Again, at this point, we're not going to mandate that you use it, but look at it. At least consider taking this challenge of really identifying how your business runs. Those of you that did I'm sorry, let me grab one real quick. The scorecard, this is a much more detailed version of the scorecard. And that it allows you to look at your day every single day to see what are you doing to get better in the different categories in the scorecard. Like the scorecard, if you want to take this challenge, if you want to take a few days, take a week, take 2 weeks, and self-analyze, and then you'd like me to help you analyze what are you doing with your days, I'm glad to do it, okay? So again, I'll send you a big package of things later this afternoon, so you can start to look at it, see how it works, and decide if you want to take that challenge, right? So why the accountability? Allows you to plan your entire day. If you don't know what works and what doesn't, what you're doing well and what you don't, then your plan won't be a good plan. It won't be yours. Prioritize your task list, what has to get done today, the 4 quadrants. Track your results, prospecting, lead follow-up, etc. Track it. Track what are you doing, how successful is it. That allow you to, in the future, minimize or maximize things that work or things that don't. Keep record and contact with future opportunities, awareness of issues and possible solutions. Track how customers come to you and advertise more effectively. If something works, do more of it. If something doesn't work, follow calls and emails. So you're seeing a lot of things that we kind of threw on you with the surge. Hopefully, you're starting to fill in the blanks on what you're supposed to be doing and why and how. Identify and squash time wasters. Here's another reminder. Only handle it once. Only handle it once. Get it done. It's gone. You never have to think about it again. So your daily tracking record, what are you currently using to track what are you doing throughout the day? The answer for most realtors is nothing. Identify your time vampires. Examples, unconfirmed appointments, poor scheduling, interruptions, family and friends, Pop-Tart real estate. Things happen and you go chase it when it's really nothing there. Idle chatter, identify and eliminate or at least minimize all of these. Again, I want to get you in the mind frame that you are embarking on a new career, a new way of doing business, a new you, and you must concentrate. You must only do this, right? For a certain amount of time until you see the improvement, until you get more efficient. When you get better and better at your business because you control your time, you control your schedule, you will actually have more time to do the things that you love to do like this, right? But you have to make a sacrifice. You have to stay, I'm not happy or I'm not satisfied or I'm not comfortable with where I am. I need to get better. That involves back, getting rid of things that don't work until you get to a place where you can manage it, right? So remember, replacing one DPA with another, moving it to, if you lose it at one point in the week, you have to make up for it another point. The daily activity reports, what are you doing that doesn't really need to be done? What are you doing that can be done by someone else? What am I doing that can be done more efficiently? And what do I do that wastes others' time? You're asking others not to waste yours, so please be mindful and don't waste others. When we talk about the team, when we talk about the office, if we're all thinking the same way, we'll eliminate what's wasteful. We'll eliminate what is not productive and all get to a point where we are reaching our maximum potential, being as efficient and successful as possible, and you'll just see the culture flourish. All right, so procrastination, be careful of it. It's the thief of time. Once it's gone, you cannot get it back. So avoid it at all costs. Doing things at the last minute is much more expensive than just before the last minute. One is planned and one is not. That's the difference there. Deadlines are really important. Establish them yourself. Establish them yourself and then keep them. If you're not the kind of person that can keep your own deadline, you cannot be accountable to yourself. Get someone that does it for you. Comfort zones, identify why you aren't enthusiastic about something. Identify fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, and get a spine, get help. One of the reasons we're doing these trainings and these calls in a group is to have that herd mentality. You're not the only one. Everyone is going through the same thing. You can see others struggle. When you struggle, there are people there to help you. You don't have to go through it alone. This will help you with all of these things. Stop making excuses. We all have the same issues. We all have the same problems. We all have the same opportunities. Don't do that. Delegation, we talked about that briefly. No one is an island. You can accomplish a lot more with help. Most delegation in your life is from vendor to assistance, okay? The idea that a realtor has to do everything is not true. When you start to recognize the amount of help you have available to you everywhere all around you, and then you start to alleviate your pressure by allowing others to do for you, that's when you start to establish the freedom and the idea that you can do more, where you're more successful. If you go back to the first introduction, I talked about brokerage, data, and money, and I talked about the systems and training and the people. This is what I was talking about. You allow your lender to handle the money side. You allow your title partner to handle the data side. You allow your staff, your coaches, your trainers, your managers to handle all the things that they can do for you, and you're free to do only dollar producing activities. List, sell, negotiate, prospect. That's it. Delegation is not dumping. It doesn't mean that you don't want to or you can't do it. It means you recognize you're more valuable doing something else, and you find the people that can do these things for you. So it grants authority with responsibility. They must do it to the level that you need to move forward. If they can't do it well or better, then you must do it yourself until you find someone that can do it as well or better. Concrete goals, deadlines, and consequences, they must meet them. Treat your people well. When you treat your people well, they perform at a higher level for you. Your office administrator, your MIT, your lender, your title officer, OCT sales manager, they should all be treated well, but they should all be expected to perform at a certain level. You're granting them authority with responsibility to help you with your business. You have to set them goals, deadlines, and consequences if they don't perform. What's the consequence? You use someone else. Meetings and appointments, pre-qual all leads, no exceptions. Pre-listing package before meeting, make sure all decision makers are present. Prepare, there must be an agenda. 1 minute minutes, an efficient way to keep track of decisions made in a meeting. Who is responsible for what, by when? We'll talk more about this in future trainings, but keep everything tight, keep everything professional, keep it moving forward always. Recommended reading, someone asked me earlier last week, and we've got the first one here, Fanatical Prospecting. We touched on Eat That Frog. Here's two more, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and The Miracle Morning. At some point in your real estate career, you should at least take a look at a synopsis of these. If not, buy them, read them, and incorporate what they teach into your business. You will not be disappointed. Again, you've heard of them, you've seen them in action, and for some reason you decided it's not for you. Well, as we go through this, as we send you the documentation and the information later today, as we go through our practicing, start to reanalyze, start to think, what did I miss? I'm not where I want to be. I'm not as effective or as efficient or as profitable as I want to be. Maybe it starts here. Maybe it's in your lack of time management. Maybe it's because you don't control your schedule controls you. Maybe it's because you don't do the hard thing first. You procrastinate, you're busy, but you procrastinate in the sense you do the things that don't have to be done because they're simple or they're easy or they're comfortable, instead of doing the uncomfortable things that will get you more business, the uncomfortable things that will get you better at what you do. Prospecting, listing, selling, negotiating. Those should always be at the top of your list every single day. For a realtor, that's eating the frog. Do those 4 things, and then you'll have the time to do everything else. Then you'll make the money to delegate and success to delegate everything else. And that's where you'll find guidance on these issues. So start here. Prospecting is the first thing. We'll move to some of these other books in the coming weeks and months. All right, so I'm going to send you this later today. It's a good way to track your time. It's a little bit different this year because our schedule of closings in the county has been different, but we're going to start moving in business planning later this. And so I want to share this with you, and that is the rhythm of closings in your MLS for the last 3 years. And I won't explain too much today. Just look for it, and it'll show you when you start setting your calendar, when you start setting your rhythm of your business, and you want to accomplish a certain number of closed sales per year, we'll show you how they usually break down by month, right? If you say, I want to sell 12 houses in a year, it's not one house each month. It's going to be slower January, February, pick up March, April, May, slow down June, July, August, September. We'll have another little bump, and then you end slow. That'll set the rhythm of what you do. You know when you're busiest, so you have to maximize prospecting in the time before those heavy periods. And that's how you'll be able to adjust and control your schedule on the basic concept of prospecting to sales in a true rhythm, in a true manner that is identifiable in our markets, right? So this is what it might look like for in January, your goals, actual stretch, and dreams. And we'll do this on a calendar basis for all of us so we have an idea of how we're going to finish the year. And then ideally, learn it and master it so that we start 2021 strong. All right, another quick plug for Gino's Mindset and Routine, and it is another shameless plug because it works. All right, and so I want to share this again really quickly with you. This is the opening for it, and it says the key to victory was creating the right routine. This is from Bob Bowman, who was Michael Phelps' coach, and it can be the same for you. We can talk about time management. We can talk about the importance of a schedule and how to master it. And it's all about building the right routines. That is all a calendar is. That is all time management is building routines that create behaviors that become habits, that become almost self-aware, and they're self-evident, and you do them almost like breathing. So Gino talks about it in the opening to the journal, and he says, just as Michael Phelps' coach Bob Bowman believed that the key to victory for swimmers was about creating the right routines, I believe the key to victory in the real estate business is creating the right routines. I, meaning him, Gino, spent the majority of my adult life studying from some of the best trainers like Earl Nightingale, Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini, Tom Ferry, Tommy Hopkins, Larry Kendall, Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, Anthony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Napoleon Hill, Wayne Dyer, and Deepak Chopra. I learned that in order to succeed in real estate, I needed to work harder on myself than on my job. I needed to change my mindset from being afraid of the day or trying to get through the day to being fearless and confident that I could take from the day. I designed a series of behaviors to change my state that would set me apart from other realtors. A few specific habits, nothing to do with real estate and everything to do with creating the right mindset. These habits would make me the strongest mental realtor in any situation. My routine would allow me to find those tiny advantages in a business where victory would mean getting the deal. The following is a 90-day workbook that I would invite you to incorporate in your daily routine. Start the process by writing 10 things you're grateful for, followed by 3 specific things that made you happy in the last 24 hours. Finally, program your non-conscious mind by writing down as saying as you write, I am earning X amount more in the next 12 months 25 times. Now, in the simple opening statement, he talks about success in real estate being tied to his mindset, and that mindset being tied to habits, routines. All of that is another way to talk about scheduling and time management. He starts his day every single day with a plan. He starts his day reminding himself what he needs to accomplish that day. He starts his day by creating a cadence of accountability to himself about what he'll accomplish. Each day starts with a win. There's something on his calendar, there's something on his schedule that's important to making him as successful as he can be, and he can check it off. I know for Gino, it's probably like 6 in, he's done it, it's finished, it's over. For you, it might be a different time. So again, I'll encourage you to take a look at it. Create the behaviors that become habits. That is going to really empower your schedule. When you get the materials I'll send later today, and you take the challenge and you look at your time block, you put in, start with yourself, start with your family, and then put in the $4 producing activities, and then fill it out with everything else. That's hard to do. You've got to create the mindset, you've got to create the routines. For the beginning, it's hard. Then we'll send you the daily activity reports. Again, challenge you to try it. Challenge you to, for a week or 2 weeks, note everything you do so you can start to analyze what works and what doesn't. You can really fine tune your business. If you do that, that's going to create more time in your schedule, more efficiency, more success. Okay. We've started to do that. We kind of introduced it to you slowly, and last week we put you on the calendar. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. you're on these. 9:30 to 10, you're practicing your scripts. 10 to 11, you're on your phone calling past clients, your sphere of influence. Then we set up on different days 1 to 3, you're doing A, Y, and C, A, B, and C. And then at 5 o'clock, you're going to call in and we're going to go over your successes for the day, creating that routine, creating that cadence of accountability, creating a schedule for you. When we create a schedule for you, it can be good, it can work, but ultimately to be successful, it has to be your schedule. The surge is not going to be every day. It's going to be for the next 10 days or so. Once that's done, we want you to be in that position to create your own cadence within the rhythm of the office, within the rhythm of the real estate business that we're in, but you own it, you control it, you designed it with our help, hopefully, and then you manage and we help you with the accountability to always fine tune it, always go back and make it better, all right? So I used all my time, went 1 minute over, I apologize for that, but thank you for listening. Go out and take a break, go have a cup of coffee, go have a quick breakfast, and then look for the email. 9:30, we're going to be back on practicing our scripts, that cadence accountability, that scheduling, hopefully making you more powerful as a realtor. And then from 10 to 11, we'll be on the call. So you should have the schedule. We sent it out last night. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you, everybody.